Okay, welcome to High Cheese with Darren Maloney. Today is Friday, May 6th, 2022. And we have some breaking news here. And I just wanted to let you know that there was an explosion and collapse of the Hotel Saratoga in Havana. And right now, there are reports of death and there are reports of casualties. So we're going to keep on top of that. If there's anything that happens during the podcast, I will keep you informed. But our thoughts and prayers go out to the people of Havana and the people that were staying at the hotel. Now, the hotel is a luxury hotel in Havana, and I guess it catered to tourists. And I was looking at reports from citizen journalists in Havana, and it appears that the entire facade, at the very least, just collapsed. And the interesting thing that I find is that there were no first responders. The responders were the citizens of Havana helping out, putting their lives in danger. But again, this is indicative of the government we have in Cuba, and that there are absolutely no services that the government provides to Cuba anymore. So I'll keep on top of this, and anything that breaks, I will let you know. Now, with that said, I just want to switch to a very busy week in the United States. And the first thing I wanted to cover is the leak of the Alito draft. If you get a chance, you have to read it. It's long. I think it's about 80 pages, 90 pages. And I've read most of it, not all of it. But it is a complete takedown of Roe v. Wade. A complete takedown of the decision-making process by the Supreme Court at the time. Everything about Roe was taken apart by Alito. So you have to read it. But the other thing I want to just point out is the response from the left on this. And the danger that this leaker has done to this country, particularly to the people on the Supreme Court, the justices on the Supreme Court, as well as the churches in this country. Because right now we've got protesters outside of the justices' homes protesting. They've been doxxed. And what I mean by doxxed is their home addresses were released to the public through the internet. And now you've got protesters scheduled outside Alito, I'm sure Clarence Thomas, and all of the other conservative justices. And what I find also particularly dangerous is you now will have protesters protesting church services. There's a group out there, it's called Ruth Sent Us. Ruth Ginsburg. That's their disciple. Because this is a religion for them at this point. This state secular government is their religion. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg is one of their acolytes, one of their disciples, one of the people they worship. So this group is now planning on protesting Catholic churches, certain Catholic churches throughout the country. And I am telling you, you have to fight for your religion. Whether you're Catholic, Protestant, these secularists are coming after your religion. They don't want you to be able to practice your religion. And you have to fight for it. So what I'm going to do is just to let you know how they think. And these people are violent. These people are emotionally wrecked. So what I want to do is I just want to go to a clip, and the person's name is Anna Kaspersen or Kasparian. Her name's not important. What's important is this reaction she has to Christianity. And this is how these people think about you. So let's go to the clip, and then we'll come back.
I don't believe in Christianity, which means that you do not get to dictate the way I live my life based on your religion. I don't care what the Bible says. You have every right in the world. All those women who identify with your religion have every right in the world to not get an abortion, to not take birth control, but they do not have the right to dictate my life and what I decide to do with my body. I don't care about your damn religion. I'm so tired of having nonstop conversations about what the Bible says.
Ay, ay, ay. Now, this is what I mean about the left are not bright people. And in a way, you got to overlook where she's coming from because she's not a bright person. It's all about emotion. It's all about me, me, me. And what she fails to realize, or she doesn't understand, is that, quite frankly, she's responsible for her life at some point. And because she has a baby growing in her uterus, she doesn't accept that there is another life there. It's all about her and all about her life. And she can dictate the life that she has in her uterus as well as she pleases. So I'm not quite sure she gets it, but you have to understand is that it appears that this is a combination of an extremely selfish person and a person that's not very bright. And you have to understand that the left are not deep thinkers. They're not. But don't overlook this. This whole ideology has to be crushed. Has to be crushed. It's not based on anything rational. It's not based on science. Perfect example is viability. I've always said that Roe v. Wade does not have a friend in science because as the viability of a child gets reduced, and as these medical breakthroughs potentially can make a fetus viable, say 1 month, for example, you lose Roe v. Wade. But they're deniers. They deny science. They'll deny science when it's convenient for them. Perfect example is look what happened with the COVID vaccines. They've spent the last 2 years, a year and a half, denying that the mRNA vaccine can be dangerous to people. But it doesn't meet their narrative. And again, it's all about the narrative with the left, all about the story. And remember what a story is. Something that's not real. All right, what I want to do is the second clip with her. This is a clip from her that came out right after the Alito leak. And when she realized that Roe v. Wade is going to be overturned. Now, a lot of this rant also is her disappointment in the Democratic Party, how the Democrats were unable to produce anything for the extreme left like she is. And so this is, as much as this is a rant about the overturning of Roe v. Wade, it's a rant against the Democratic Party today with its inability to produce anything. Anyway, so let's go to it.
We don't even have affordable childcare in this freaking country. Okay, and the people who fight against those kinds of laws are Republicans.
And yet,
what do you want them to do with their kids when they have to go to work? What do you want them to do? What do you want them to do? I want them to answer that freaking question. Answer the question. Journalists, ask them the question. Ask them. Ask them. Ask them the goddamn question.
isn't it amazing that not one Democrat has shown 1% of the passion that Anna has today?
They don't care.
They
They're
don't
fine.
care.
They're
They don't
fine.
care.
They're all so old, they don't even have to worry about it affecting them. And if they're young enough where it would affect them, they'll get their abortion.
They're gonna fly to
They're
Paris.
trading individual stocks, enriching themselves. They're good. They're good. They don't care about you. Make sure you understand that and you feel it in your bones. They don't care about you at all. All of that fundraising, all of that canvassing, all of that hard work on the ground, they can't even get a voting rights bill passed. They're losers.
And the interesting thing is, the meltdown is about the Democratic Party. She's finished with the Democratic Party. So the other thing I want to point out, too, is this person is emotionally unstable. And there are plenty of emotionally unstable people out there right now. And this is dangerous for the Supreme Court justices, and it's dangerous for our churches. So again, as I said before, you will have to fight for your religion because they are coming for your religion. I've said this in past episodes. This is just exposing them further. I hope this ends well. So, the state of New Jersey is hiding their Chinese investments from the public. I can't make a clearer statement than that. The state of New Jersey is hiding its Chinese investments from the public. I guess it was last August or September that had made a public information request. We call them Oprah requests here in New Jersey. Open Public Records Act, OPRA. So all I wanted to know is, what is the Chinese exposure in the pension fund? Now, I receive a pension from the state of New Jersey, and I have every right to know what our exposure is to China. And I keep on receiving these buck notes from New Jersey Treasury saying, oh, we need more time, we need more time. Now, the interesting thing is, it's been about 9 months, and I still haven't received my request. But it was in early March where the governor wanted the pension fund to divest from all of its Russian assets, and it took the pension fund less than 2 months to turn that around and develop a list of Russian exposure for the pension fund. So 2 months for Russia, and I still have yet to get my Chinese exposure. So what I want to do is I just want to switch you to a clip. I had confronted the New Jersey Investment Council, April 27th, I think was the date. They meet quarterly every year. So I had confronted them and to ask them why it's taking so long. So let's go to that clip, and then we'll come back and discuss.
My name is Darren Maloney. I'm a recently retired chief financial officer from the town of Randolph. And I'm here just to voice my disappointment in the state regarding an OPRA request I made last August. And, you know, to me it's a simple request. I just wanted to know what our Chinese exposure was. And it's taken over 9 months. And I'm still getting these buck notes from the state saying they need more time, they need more time. And I found it additionally disturbing earlier this morning when I found that Mr. Khan had a report on Russia, our Russia exposure. And that was in response to an executive order by the governor, 291. So he was able to turn around a similar request in less than 2 months. But I can't get our Chinese exposure over a 9-month period. So I guess what I want to know, what do I need to do to get this information?
So then I get a response from the acting director of investment, Shoaib Khan. I would have played his response, but the recording was not that good. It was a Zoom meeting, and the recording was not that good. So anyway, Mr. Khan just gave me the typical response. It's the first I've heard of this, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible, and this and that and this and that. So again, I think I'm getting slow walked here, and there's only 2 reasons why they would slow walk this. The first is that they don't want the public to know about their Chinese investments. And the second is they don't know what their Chinese investments are, which is problematic either way you look at it. So they either don't want you to know or they don't know what their Chinese investments are. And both are not promising. I think they just don't want us to know. And what they don't want the public to know is just how deep China is into the New Jersey pension. Now, this is the China that has slave labor, that is putting Muslim Uyghurs in concentration camps, for lack of a better word. We've got a massive trade deficit with China. Now, remember on my last episode, I had spoke about the surprise GDP report. And the surprise GDP report was essentially the result of a huge trade deficit, predominantly with China. So we import more goods from China than we export. And that's bad for our economy. And that's what caused our economy to shrink in the first quarter of 2022. It's not good for our economy. And here we have the New Jersey pension investing in China. So they invest in a country with slave labor, Muslim Uyghur concentration camps, and they're taking away jobs from Americans. And here's the interesting thing, is that you've got the New Jersey pension. The New Jersey pension predominantly is funded with middle-class people. The only exception are the politicians that take advantage, the wealthy politicians that take advantage of the nuance in the pension law that allows them to collect a pension while making millions of dollars on the side. But predominantly, the New Jersey Pension Fund has middle-class people. It's made up with money from the middle class. And here they are investing in a country that is taking away middle-class jobs. That's why they don't want you to know about this. And we had startling economic data that came out on May 4th. Our international trade balance. Now, this is for the second quarter. This is for April, which is in the second quarter of 2022. So we've already had a negative GDP for the first quarter that was driven by a huge trade deficit. Now for the month of April, which is the beginning of the second quarter, we set a record for our trade deficit. It came in at nearly $110 billion, the deficit. So we're importing $110 billion more than we export. And that's going to put a lot of pressure on second quarter GDP. And that's a lot of American jobs, middle-class jobs that are being exported. And not only that with China, from an accounting, and I'm wearing my accountant hat right now, there's huge problems with the SEC and Chinese stocks because they don't follow standard audit rules for their stocks. So the SEC is considering delisting certain Chinese stocks because they don't comply with SEC auditing rules. So there is so many reasons that we should not be involved with China. And let me tell you, China has hurt more Americans than Russia has. I'm not sticking up for Russia, but if the governor wants to divest from Russia, why is he not divesting from China, which hurts people you know, people I know? Well, let's take a look at the governor. Let's take a look at Murphy's investment. Let's see how much Chinese investment he has. Also, let's take a look at his Russian investments. He's asking us to divest from Russia. Let's see if he's divesting from Russia, if he has any Russian assets. Let's do that. So anyway, let's go back to the meeting. And look, the problem is with these people, you have to box them in the corner. Don't back down. You have to box them in the corner to get an answer. So let me just go back with my follow-up, and then we'll come back and discuss.
Don't have an answer for you. I completely understand what you're saying. We absolutely want to get you whatever it is that to the extent we can, of course. And then, as you know, we have various types of exposures, and some we are able to provide, and some we're not. But certainly, it is something that I'm going to note, to follow up on, and report back to you.
Well, I appreciate that, but this is clearly just unacceptable. And I really would have expected a much more timely response from the state on this. Now, I was an administrator for our township's deferred compensation program, and I clearly could have turned around a similar request. And again, I understand that the pension fund is much larger than Randolph's deferred compensation program, but I could have turned around a similar request in a reasonable period of time. So all I'm asking is just treat me, you don't have to treat me like the governor, but just treat me like a resident.
Absolutely. Completely understand. We'll be looking into this.
All right. Much appreciated. Thank you.
And now looky here. The Senate has passed a resolution to reduce Chinese tariffs. So the Senate passed a resolution to reduce Chinese tariffs, which make Chinese products cheaper, which increases our trade deficit, which hurts our economy and hurts the middle class. So let me just read an article here from Breitbart. It says here, the lead is Rubio leads effort to stop Congress from cutting U.S. tariffs on China. It says Senator Marco Rubio is leading an effort to stop Congress from approving plans that would cut United States tariff on China-made products. A faction of Senate Republicans and Democrats have crafted language to include in the America Completes Act that will cut U.S. tariffs on billions of dollars worth of Chinese-made products. Late Wednesday evening, the Senate voted 53 to 43 to support cutting tariffs on China, with 25 Senate Democrats and 18 Senate Republicans opposing the plan. It makes absolutely no sense to make it cheaper for Chinese companies to sell the products in America, Rubio said. We need to rebuild American industry, not reward companies that keep their supply chains in China. Rubio, as well as Senator Josh Hawley, Tom Cotton, and Bernie Sanders, have led efforts in the Senate over the last year to oppose tariff reductions in China. The 4 senators were the only ones to oppose a similar amendment last year. Americans are overwhelmingly on Rubio's side in regards to trade. A new Morning Consult poll showed that 73% of Americans support trade remedies to protect American jobs and workers from China, while 61% said they are more likely to back candidates for office who support tariffs on China-made products. So there's vast amount of Republicans and a vast amount of Democrats that have voted to take away Chinese tariffs. And here's a perfect example of why the middle class is leaving the Democratic Party. Take a look at my state here, the 2 senators, Booker and Menendez. They voted to reduce or take away tariffs from China. They voted to take away middle-class jobs from New Jersey workers. And you wonder why working people are leaving the Democratic Party. So again, we shall see where this goes. But again, remember, these politicians are not on your side, particularly the Democratic Party today. They have left the working class people. They are now a people of the elite and large corporations. Okay, let me give you an update on the Saratoga Hotel in Havana. Apparently 22 people have died so far. They have 70 people in the hospital, and a number of people are missing. And right now, people think that it is a propane tank explosion in the restaurant's kitchen. Most kitchens in Cuba use propane tanks. There are very few electric ranges there, and they don't have natural gas pipelines throughout the country, so they rely on propane tanks. And many believe that this was an explosion of one of the propane tanks that the kitchen was using at the hotel. Now, initially, the word on the street that we were interpreting is that it was a bomb. And it still may be a bomb, who knows? But we'll never know from the government. So right now, the government's position is that was a propane tank explosion. My wife and I were looking at some live feeds from citizen journalists in Cuba. And I'll tell you, these Cuban people are extremely brave, and they're very good people. They ran right into the collapse to save people. They didn't care about themselves. They cared about saving people. And this was right after the collapse and right after the dust settled. So let's give a shout out to the Cuban people on this. Okay, let's take a look at the markets. The markets this week can be best described as volatile. Massive swings, upside, downside. And it's starting to remind me more and more of 2008 with these dramatic swings, up and down, up and down. It's not good for the market when you have these dramatic swings. Now, the Fed on Wednesday raised interest rates by 50 basis points. And there was whispers behind the scenes that they may raise it 75 basis points. They didn't, and the market responded with a nearly 900-point jump. The very next day, the market collapsed by over 1,000 points. So that's the story of the market, and we have to get used to this, I think, for the remainder of the year. And with that said, I just want to also bring in another number that came out today, which is Friday, and that was hourly wages. And wages are up year over year 5.5%. The only problem is inflation is 8.5%. So if Biden comes out and tells everybody, well, wages are up 5.5% year over year, well, you're still losing because inflation's at 8.5%. So that has an impact on the market because at some point it's going to affect consumer sales, which has a big effect on our GDP. So let's go to the market. This week, today, the Dow finished down 0.3% to 32,899.37. Year to date, the Dow is down 9.46%. The S&P was down 0.57% today to 4,123.34. Year to date, the S&P is down 13.49%. The NASDAQ was down today 1.4% to 12,144.66. Year to date, NASDAQ is down 22.37%. And this is a 5-week losing streak in NASDAQ. And we haven't seen that since 2012, just to put it in perspective. The 10-year bond was up 6 basis points to 3.124%. Oil was up, WTI, 1.83% to $110.24 per barrel. Spot gold was up 0.2% to $1,880.86 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading in the early evening of Friday, May 6, 2022. Bitcoin is trading at $35,898.75. Ethereum is trading at $2,684.97, and XRP is trading at 60 cents. Now, one thing I want to point out today is that the New York State Assembly passed a bill that would ban Bitcoin mining for 2 years. Now, I got to tell you a little bit about Bitcoin mining. Bitcoin mining uses a lot of electricity, a tremendous amount of electricity. So what we're finding is that a lot of Bitcoin miners are winding up in New York State. Like, for example, in upstate Plattsburgh, New York, right on the border of New York and Quebec, there's a lot of mining going on there. And they're using a tremendous amount of electricity and driving up the price for everybody else. So New York is taking a second look at that. It's a moratorium for 2 years. It hasn't passed the governor's office. Who knows what she's going to do? But, they're not going to kick out any existing miners. They're just not going to allow any new mining for the next 2 years. And I don't want to confuse anyone and get any more detail, but this is for proof of work mining. And there's a certain type of mining of cryptocurrencies, and one of those is proof of work. And that's what Bitcoin mining is. It's proof of work mining. So anyway, thank you for listening. You have a good weekend, and I will talk to you on Tuesday.